Hey, we're back with Hajime no Ippo. Last time was great and I hope this time will be even greater. If you want a recap of how this type of video works, then watch the first episode in this series. Trust me, I would give a recap, but this is already really long. So without any more hesitation, let us begin. The 2 Rookie King arc contains the aftermath of last arc, Ippo's graduation, new recruitments into the boxing club, and also a new guy into the boxing club, a triple match with Aoki, Kimura, and Takamura, and a sparring match against the featherweight champion, AG. We see Ippo in the club celebrating, and this ends with the coach and Takamura fighting while Ippo talks to his mom about boxing. After Takamura knocks out the coach, they take Ippo to celebrate somewhere else. I feel bad for the coach. We also see Ippo graduating and saying his goodbyes to his classmates, which was a sad scene but heartwarming to see everyone cheer for Ippo. We also see a lot of people join the boxing club and have a fun scene where everyone is shocked about not realizing who Ippo was. Takamura decides to test everyone and decides to go for the average road work. Everyone but one fails and the guy who makes it decides not to join. When they think there won't be anybody new to join, we see one person come and it's a sweaty guy who was out of breath when Ippo saw him earlier. Everyone aside from Ippo lost interest. I feel bad for the guy. We learned that the guy's name is Yamada Noamichi. We see Ippo training him and teaching him the basics, which makes Takamura and the others call him a homo. This manga did not age well with the humor. Trust me. Ippo and Yamada go to watch Takamura, Kimura, and Aoki's match and meet the journalist guy and a guy who Ippo recognizes and gets nervous about. Turns out this is the Japanese featherweight champion Eiji Date. If my memory from back when I watched the anime, trust me, I forgot most of it. Eiji is probably one of the most important characters in the saga. That's why he's on the thumbnail. Anyways, they chat for a bit with Takamura joining the conversation, and then we see the match with the 3 goofballs. Kimura wins his match by judgment, Aoki wins his by a lucky knockout, and Takamura wins with an easy KO. This went by so fast it doesn't even matter. We also see Ippo's goal of defeating AG. After Ippo's hand has fully recovered, we see him testing his punches on a punching bag. The manager gets a call from AG's gym, giving them a sparring offer to have Ippo spar there, and he accepts and gets nervous. When the day arrives, Ippo and Yamada makes it there, and Ippo spars against AG. Ippo can do nothing during the first round and gets confused when he hears he's gonna use the magic punch on some Saitama shit, and on the second round, they're doing great, hitting each other equally. But then AG hits Ippo with a corkscrew blow, which was a feint, and AG knocks out Ippo in one punch. Jeez. AG is really Saitama on that one punch hit. I gotta really feel bad for Ippo. However, Ippo gets back up to continue fighting AG, and he gets knocked down by AG using his corkscrew blow on his heart. But Ippo still gets back up. He wants to keep fighting. Ippo must have some serious balls of steel. However, he falls down not long after, defeated. Gotta love Ippo's drive to keep going, and AG's attitude about having to continue fighting was also great, because you see someone whose career has just beginning wanting to keep going, and somebody who has already reached a high status who wants to just be done with the battle. Great parallel. After Ippo and Yamada leave, we see AG in the shower with his arm seriously hurt. We also see Ippo and Yamada chat with each other, and Yamada venting about being picked on, and he learns that Ippo used to be picked on too. The next day, Ippo gets back to the gym, and everybody goes back to normal. Suddenly, the manager comes saying that AG's gym has a request. A match with Ippo against Okati Keigo, who was the one we saw with AG. Ippo accepts the fight request. We learn that Ippo has a month to train, and he trains hard. We also see Keigo training and AG giving him some advice about his upcoming fight. The match itself was great. They started equally, but once Keigo started using his corkscrew blow, Ippo had forgotten how to fight and went into the corner, but he used the corner to get an advantage. And after that, Ippo kept getting some good hits on him, ending with Keigo going down. Good fight. Rank above Sendo. We also end the arc with Ippo watching AG's match, realizing how strong he is. AG also indirectly challenging Ippo. Overall, good arc. We'll rank this above Rocky of Naniwa. The Jolt Counter Arc focuses on Miyata's training and match in Thailand. We start off with Miyata getting a tie in a match where he downed a foe twice. This is due to how favoritism on the home turf is for a fighter. We also see Miyata upset about this and keeps training. We also see that his next match has been decided. Jimmy Shishfa. I hope I said that right. I don't think I did. Miyata's father decides he should turn down the match, but Miyata hears about the match from some Thai boxers and tells his dad he wants to fight him and that he doesn't want to run. They argue about it and Miyata insists and they go through with the plan to fight Jimmy. We also see Jimmy sparring and knocking out his opponent without any issue. Jimmy is cocky about Miyata being an easy fight, but if media has taught me anything, is that not to fuck with the Japanese. We see Miyata training and reflecting on his choice of fighting Jimmy. We also meet Payao, who praises Miyato's shadowboxing and introduces Miyata to Chana, who is Payao's little brother and a fan of Miyata. Chana tells Miyata that he'd like to throw counters like him, but declines to show him since his current counter isn't that great. But this motivates him to make a counter to surpass all other counters. We also see him in the sauna thinking about a counter with a hoodie on, and of course he passes out, and when his dad comes to check up on him, he gets back up and keeps going. Miyata is really down in the trenches right now, I swear. He's so sad that he's training in the rain, with Chana going to give him an umbrella. Chana talks about how he has never seen him smile and motivates Miyata to the point that he shows a new counter while sparring with Payao. This shocks Payao, but no one realizes it yet. Before the fight, we see Miyata stressed about the fight, but thinks back to when Ippo had to fight a strong opponent and this motivates him. This was honestly so wholesome to see. The fight itself was amazing. We saw Miyata struggling for a while and his managers considering throwing the towel, but Miyata had learned the Jolt Counter, and after being so beaten up to the point where his eardrums ruptured, he got one good hit with the Jolt Counter, which won him the whole battle, even though he was losing. In this series, they say that boxing is unpredictable until the very end, and this fight really proves that point. Even though this isn't an Ippo fight, I'll still rank it on the system. I'll rank this above Jason. Yes, Jason. This is by far my favorite fight due to how unpredictable it was until the very end. Also, the arc ends with Miyata smiling and Chana seeing this was so cute, and their goodbyes was also sad, but he gave Chana encouragement before he left, which was so cute. Overall, good arc, currently my favorite arc, and we will see how the other arcs will go from here. The Class A Tournament Speedster arc focuses on the Class A tournament, Ippo's possible retirement, and the first match of the Class A tournament. We start off with the gym being interviewed for TV by a big time idol, and the boys are just goofing off. This ends up with Ippo having a mock sparring match with the idol, and him being down bad. I gotta agree with Yamada here. Ippo has become a lot more like Takamura, Aoki, and Kimura. They decide to watch the broadcast, and Ippo says on TV that he would like to fight Eiji Date, and Aoki notes that he basically challenged Eiji to a fight, which frightens him. Right after this, we get a report of another gym, and we get introduced to the third ranked featherweight fighter. Note, Ippo was formerly ranked the 10th, and Keigo was ranked the 5th before losing to Ippo. The third ranked is a fighter from Russia called Alexander Volgzangev. His goal is to beat AG as well. We also see Yamada taking his debut license and passing. Nice. After that, they learn about a purse tournament is happening, and the coach knew Ippo would be interested, so he entered him in. Ippo hesitated, but then the coach talked about how he heard that top-ranked fighters would enter, and Ippo accepts. We also see that Ippo got it easier in the tournament since only 4 people entered in the featherweight were entered, and we see Ippo's first opponent is Saiki Takuma. Also, it used to be 7 people who entered, but when they heard that Volk, the Russian fighter, would enter, some of them quit. Jeez. The guys decided to have a training camp to prepare themselves for the tournament. He asks his mommy if he can enter and she accepts. However, while training the next day, he is informed that his mother collapsed and was hospitalized. He, of course, visits her. We also see Ippo taking over her job. We also see Ippo considering retiring from boxing since he can't let his mom do all the work. We also see the boxing club talking about Ippo maybe retiring. This got sad very fast. His mom considers leaving the hospital, but Ippo decides not to quit boxing, but isn't in the great shape to be in the tournament, so he's planning on pulling out of the tournament and stop doing professional boxing. However, after the journalist visits and the two argue, and also Umezawa visiting, his former bully, Umezawa asked if he can work for the place so Ippo can continue boxing, and that Umezawa quit his job because he wanted to follow his own dream. And thanks to this, Ippo decides to continue doing boxing. What an amazing friend Umezawa is. Ippo returns to the gym and everybody's happy to see him and starts training with him again. We also see Eiji and Saiki sparring, and we see that Ippo is trying to figure out a strategy to defeat Saiki since it's his next opponent in the tournament. However, he gets distracted by Kimura train dancing with music and offers to do it with Ippo. They train dance that is a reference to the Rocky movies before it derails fast into being a goofy moment thanks to Ippo. We see Ippo managing to use the dance practice and having figured out how to dodge in a rhythm and then eventually punch in that rhythm. We also see Saiki training and learn a bit about him. Pretty chill dude. No reason to hate him, to be honest. We also see Ippo's mom being released and Ippo being given some new boxing shorts and shoes plus encouragement from his mom and Umezawa. We then get to the tournament and the first fight, which is Ippo versus Saiki. Before then, we see the three people who entered the tournament, Ippo, Kimura, and Aoki, greet each other luck. And we see Umezawa visit Ippo in the locker before the match starts and wishes him a good luck. The match itself was good. We saw Ippo using the opposite of his fighting style to provoke Saiki into attacking. Saiki's speed was too much for Ippo at the start, even making it so that his right out wouldn't open. However, Saiki's speed wouldn't work with Ippo's willpower to keep fighting, and he kept taking punches. However, Ippo eventually learned how to hit Saiki, even in his blind spot, and after hitting him a few times, he got that final blow to knock him out. Afterwards, we see Volg's opinion on Ippo, who thought he'd lose, and Umezawa having to take care of Ippo since the coach and the manager has to be there for Kimura and Aoki. Overall, this arc was good. The fact that Ippo almost had to retire was such a shock, but luckily Umezawa, the GOAT, came and made it so he didn't have to retire. The fight was good, didn't really have any impact to it. This arc will be ranked above the Rikiking first rounder, and the fight is going to be ranked above Zendo, but below Keigo. Good arc. The White Fang arc focuses on the Class A tournament fight between Ippo and Alexander Volg. We start the arc with Ippo watching Volg's next match, and Volg absolutely destroying his opponent and winning very fast, like a wolf. We also then see Aoki and Kimura's matches, with both of them winning in their own ways. Afterwards, the coach tells them to heal up, and we see Ippo worried for his fight against Volg for obvious reasons. Kimura understands the feeling since Mashiba is in the same weight class. I forgot to say this, but yeah. They decide to party afterwards and have some goofy moments. After everyone leaves, we learn that Yamada has to move and can't continue at the boxing club. And the others, with Takamura reluctantly agreeing to be with, decides to have a farewell party for Yamada in the most fitting way possible, punching him goodbye. What a fitting way. After that, the three in the tournament are training for the semi-final. We see Kimura and Aoki nervous for the next fight, and Ippo understand Kimura and Aoki a bit more after talking to Takamura. It even tries to mimic their upcoming foe, and this fails, but they realize what he tried to do, but tell themselves that they have to try their best. We see their matches. Aoki struggles for a bit, and when he thinks he's got it, he lost, sadly. Kimura's fight is next, and they avoid each other, to the point it's a draw. In a tournament, if there is a draw, then there is an extra round, which Kimura loses. So both Kimura and Aoki are out of the tournament. They are upset, but they took it pretty well. We then see Ippo training even harder. When a coach comes back from an interview, he looks pissed and took what was said to him too hard and decides to give Ippo a new weapon. But Ippo has to earn it by training to become a gazelle. He keeps training with jumps and even does a pool jump, which is hard, even having some goofy moments. One thing I noticed about this arc is Ippo always unintentionally getting everyone in trouble. First it was breaking a glass sign, and now it's getting everyone kicked out of the pool. Man, Ippo's strength is too good for himself. And it was after Ippo had trained his jumps, the coach was ready to teach him something new, the gazelle punch. Ippo keeps training to master the gazelle punch and train even harder. We also see Volg watching all of Ippo's matches and saying he doesn't see how he could lose to Ippo, but praises his determination and of course his strength. We see Ippo trained so hard that everyone from the gym wonders if he got overworked. And later that day, Yamaguchi visits and checks on his bones and talk about boxing. The coach was the one to call her since the word from the interview about boxers being overworked really got to his head. And it's always great to see the coach caring for Ippo, like a father figure of boxing. Anyways, we see Eiji winning his match and Ippo watching while meeting journalists and later meeting Eiji. Afterwards, he's about to leave but then gets stopped by Volg. Volg asks Ippo if he can help him find the group he was a part of since they got separated in the massive crowd. Ippo agrees to help him and they decide to sit down and chat for a bit, and they learn a bit about each other. And we see Volg's sad past and boxing is a thing he has to do to earn money for his mother. Honestly, just after one chapter alone, I've started to grow a soft spot for Volg, since, a lot like Jason, his reasons for boxing is very noble, and shows us more reasons to become a boxer. Anyways, we then make it to the day of the match, after months of training. For this match, Eiji and Takamura helps to narrate the match, which was fun to see. The match itself was amazing. They kept trading blows at first, and each of them both got good shots and were surprised with each other at times. Both were knocked down by each other at certain points and were somewhat on equal terms of strength towards each other. Ippo seemed to be losing since he got a lot of downs, but in the end, Ippo got one good hit with the Gazelle Punch and knocked Volt out of the count. We end the arc with Eiji saying he won't give up his belt as he's ready to fight Ippo. Overall, great arc and fight. We'll rank both above Jolt, which makes it my new favorite arc and fight. Time to see how the challenge for the throne lives up to the hype of the rest of the tournament. This arc covers Ippo's fight against Eiji for the champion belt and Takamura fighting in the same event. We see Ippo recovering in the hospital and Volg visits to get greeted by Ippo's mom, which was so wholesome. Once Ippo is awake, he is greeted by Takamura, Aoki, and Kimura and have some goofy moments with him, which ends with him running away. He eventually runs into Kumi, yes, Mashiba's sister. They talk about Mashiba's fight, and then she runs off. She clearly has a thing for our elf dong Ippo. Ippo then checks out of the hospital. Later that night, he meets up with the boys, and they trick him into a 4-way date with Ippo's prize money paying for it. Also, Kumi is among the bunch. The party of 8 have a fun night. Afterwards, we see Kumi and Ippo walking home together, and she offers him to come inside the house. And we see that she has become a big fan of Ippo, which shocks him. Yup, she has a thing for him, but then her brother comes and he leaves. But not before he tells Ippo to do his best before spitting and leaving. Scary. The next day, Kimura and Ippo have a chat about what happened with each other's date. And then Takamura comes and we learn about Takamura having a match coming up in the Champion Carnival, which is the event Ippo will be fighting Eiji in. We learn that the event will start at the end of January for Takamura and the middle of February for Ippo, and the two are ready. We also see the coach mad at Takamura for making it to the magazine under a scandal, and Takamura shrugs it off, which angers him even more. And the guys also try to call Aoki only to have a woman pick up. They realize it is Aoki's place. What a ladies' man. We also see Eiji training to prepare himself against Ippo, and Ippo does the same. Ippo also gets to go through a boxing magazine Takamura had and learn that Eiji lost fast against Ricardo Martinez. But this doesn't give Ippo any idea of how to beat him, but he will give everything he has to win. We also get a flashback of everything before and after the fight between Eiji and Ricardo, and how the fight affected Eiji personally due to his wife collapsing while he was gone. This was really sad. He quit boxing to become a salaryman because he didn't want his newborn kid to see him being a boxer. However, his wife insists that he should continue after he attempted to throw out his trophies. He eventually made a comeback and continued box to this day. We then have Eiji and Ippo going to their own training camp to prepare themselves against their match. We then make it to Takamura's match, and he's over his weight limit. and has to shave off a lot of weight, which he does pretty easily. Ippo meets Eiji, who is also watching Takamura's match, and tells Ippo that his punches are light, before he goes to find Aoki and Kimura. Takamura starts losing at first, but then he gets a clean hit and wins. Afterwards, Takamura tries to hype up his fans, only for them to get angry with him due to his recent scandals. And this angers Takamura to the point where he starts groping the announcer lady. Like, Jesus, dude. Speedrun time. Takamura later clarified what AG meant about Ippo's weak punches. Ippo gets a call from Kimura saying much about one, and that fighting him is his next goal. Kumi calls and asks Ippo to come over and celebrate Majibo's victory, and the three of them celebrate, which doesn't go as bad as it sounds. And Ippo having a sparring match in front of a TV crew. We also see Aoki's girl from the four-way date, and she gives out fortunes but is stopped by the coach, and everyone goes to rest before Ippo's match the next day. Before Ippo leaves, he tries to reflect on his life and jog into the main event. And after some setup and Umezawa meeting some Ippo's former classmates going to the match itself starts. The match itself was great. It seemed like Ippo was dominating for a while, but AG hadn't been affected by his punches at all due to having studied Ippo's every possible movement and used that knowledge to dominate the rest of the fight. It made Ippo barely conscious to the point that he wasn't even human. And after AG gave him a heart shot, the coach just threw in the towel before Ippo could have gotten killed. And as somebody who has been hit in the heart by a strong fighter, it fucking feels so uncomfortable and semi-painful, to say the least. Afterwards, we see Sendo, Volg, and Miyata's reaction to Ippo losing, even Sendo and Volg giving each other death stares. And then we see the coach blaming himself, only for Ippo to tell him that the only person to blame is himself, cheerfully, before we see Ippo thanking everybody while upset. And that is my opinion on the Class A Contender Saga. Overall, such a better saga than the Rookie King, and I mean it. Had a better fights, better comedy, better moments, better emotional moments. I can't wait to read the National Champion Saga next. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys, well, next time. Bye bye!